One dramatic event after another will make 1945 an exciting year of historic significance to America and to the rest of the world. Island by island, Japan will lose the territory it's taken in the Pacific. And in Europe, Allied forces will be racing toward Germany, the heart of the Nazi terror. And scientists in New Mexico will test the first atomic bomb in hopes that it can end the war. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt will not live to see his dream come true of a free world at peace. Harry S. Truman will be president when the hopes of a weary world are finally fulfilled. Germany will surrender in 1945, a devastated nation. And after feeling the horror of 2 atomic bombs, Japan will follow suit a few months later. And finally, World War II will end. 35 million soldiers and civilians will have died in the war, plus 10 million more in Nazi concentration camps. The Nazi leaders will be brought to justice at the Nuremberg trials, and the world will try to ensure the peace that has been brought so dearly by the establishment of the United Nations. This and much more is the year 1945. Let's watch.
Goodbye, Mama, I'm off to Yokohama for the red, white, and blue, my country and you. Goodbye, Mama, I'm off to Yokohama just to teach all those Japs the Yanks are no saps. A million fighting sons of Uncle Sam, if you please. We'll soon have all those Japs right down on their Japanese. So goodbye, Mama, I'm off to Yokohama for my country, my flag, and you.
Say goodbye to Mama, you're off to Yokohama, so be brave and be strong. You won't be gone long. Say bye-bye, Mama, the land of Yama Yama, until April, I guess, will be your address.
Stemming von Rundstedt's drive into Belgium, Yank troops move up against heavy German counterattacks. All along the way, wrecked American equipment attests to the fury of the Nazi attempt to stall the Allied offensives toward Cologne and the Saar. Allied military government men shepherd civilians from areas under fire to comparative safety at the rear. Meanwhile, the front lines need vast quantities of ammunition and other supplies to stop von Rundstedt's drive through the dense forests and rocky hills of the Ardennes. To prevent infiltration by the Nazis, mines are placed in the wooded country along the roads. Roadblocks are set up. One light tank is camouflaged as a haystack. Troops scatter through the fields searching for Nazi paratroopers, drop behind our lines to disrupt communications. An abandoned parachute equipment container and a white snow cape are picked up. The Nazis tried every trick, even dressing their troops in captured American uniforms and sending them in jeeps to penetrate our lines. It was necessary for MPs to halt our own troops and check their credentials. The first few days found the weather perfect for von Rundstedt's thrust. Allied planes were grounded, and the infantry had to fight it out alone. But as soon as the weather broke, the eagerly awaited air support arrived. The huge bombers roared over Nazi positions and dropped thousands of tons of bombs. Bombardiers attack an important road junction choked with enemy supply trains. The RAF alone dropped an average of 10,000 tons every 24 hours on German positions. Patton's armor races madly to the relief of Bastogne, where parts of the 9th and 10th Armored Divisions and the 101st Airborne, tough paratroopers and glider men, were surrounded by the enemy. Dug into hillsides, they eagerly welcomed supplies delivered by fleets of air transport planes. "1,500 tons of supplies were parachuted to the besieged defenders. New supplies of ammunition are put to work immediately. And now the Nazis begin to feel the renewed might of Bastogne's defenders. Enemy equipment is shattered and many prisoners are taken. This is Bastogne, the town that General McAuliffe refused to surrender. Smashed American equipment testifies to the courage of its defenders. It's only fair that we should send them more.
As I stand here today, having taken the solemn oath of office, in the presence of my fellow countrymen, in the presence of our God, I know that it is America's purpose that we shall not fail. In the days and the years that are to come, we shall work for a just and honorable peace, a durable peace, as today we work and fight for total victory in war. We can and we will achieve such a peace.
Driving through terrific storms, task forces of the Pacific Fleet roam the seas about Japan's homeland, steadily cutting down her remaining power to wage war. Sure of their superior strength, carrier forces boldly attack Tokyo and run down Jap convoys along the sea route between Nipponese supply bases and enemy troops in Borneo, Singapore, and other isolated garrisons. It's dirty going in these winter gales, but through storm or calm, they're out to cut the enemy's lifeline. Planes warm up for a hazardous takeoff through wind and rain. Over the target, they go in for the kill. But the main target is Tokyo itself. Here the supply lifeline is cut at its source. Planes from Admiral Mitcher's famous Task Force 58 conquer fighter plane opposition. Navy and Marine pilots in 3 days destroy 817 Jap planes. We lost but 9 fighters. Navy combat cameramen filmed these dramatic scenes of the attack on the heart of Japan, a strike that first hit Tokyo in the early morning hours when her armament plants were buzzing with industry. This is what the boys call the Mitcher Shampoo. A huge aluminum plant is the next customer to get the hot towel. Daring attacks such as this cut off Jap reinforcements to Iwo Jima and cripple Japan's entire war industry.
Last year, 600,000 civilians left war work. Today, if they are working at all, they are engaged in less essential or non-essential industries. If we are to meet the demands from the front for ammunition and for other supplies, these people must go back to war work. In 1945, we must think more of the production of war goods and less of the production of civilian goods. And all of us must draw in our belts. From this day on, we can have but one objective: to win the war. Our boys are suffering and dying abroad, while we are living in safety and comfort at home. If they are willing to die for their country, surely we should be willing to work for that country.
Hoping to solve intricate problems of war and peace, President Roosevelt reaches the Yalta meeting, accompanied by his daughter, Mrs. Anna Boddicker. These are Army Signal Corps pictures of an historic world meeting that will shape the destiny of future generations. The summer palace of Tsar Nicholas II is the setting for Russia's welcome. The conference is to seal Hitler's fate and establish lasting peace, and is attended by presidential advisor Harry Hopkins with Mr. Eden. The host arrives, Joseph Stalin, chairman of the Council of People's Commissars of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Not since the Tehran conference 14 months ago have the three top executives of Allied strategy and diplomacy met. Meantime, the results of that first meeting were bearing fruit on Germany's eastern and western borders. Hitler's hordes were being crushed between the jaws of Allied might. His people were in disordered flight. His remaining Axis partner, Japan, was being pounded by terrific air blows. This meeting crystallizes the Allied resolve that Germany shall be beaten unconditionally and that lasting peace shall prevail throughout the world. Foot by foot is the bitter and bloody story of the advance on Iwo Jima, whose 8 square miles cost 4,100 American lives and total casualties of 20,000, half as many as all previous Marine operations in the Pacific combined. Navy and Marine Corps pictures show alligators grinding their way forward for the first assault on Mount Suribachi, whose guns command most of the island. Its capture is vital, and Navy planes roar into the attack. Marines dig in for the big push up the mountain behind a curtain of dive bombing. Big guns of the fleet offshore join the pulverizing barrage. On shore, howitzers hammer the Japs holed up in Suribachi's countless caves. The summit of Suribachi is now in range of concentrated land fire. The slow, agonizing crawl begins under merciless Jap fire, and pockets must be cleaned out with grenades. "22,000 Japs died in the fanatical defense of Iwo against Marine courage that would not be denied. Few prisoners were taken in the 27-day struggle. Literally thousands of foxholes and pillboxes had to be taken before Iwo was ours. The fortifications of the Jap bastion make even more incredible the epic of Marine achievement. But take it they did, to their everlasting glory. The blood-soaked volcanic ash will live forever as their monument. General Douglas MacArthur, who swore he would lift the burden of Jap domination from the Philippine people, returns to inspect the damage done Manila. As he tours the ruined city, civilians greet their liberator. The Pearl of the Orient, wrested from the Japs, has now been returned to the Philippine people. On reconquered Corregidor, where the history of Jap brutality is written in blood, and where the infamous March of Death began, General MacArthur delivers a command that ensures the future liberty of the Philippines.
I see that the old flagstaff still stands. Have your troops hoist the colors to its peak, and let no enemy ever haul them down.
loss of Franklin Delano Roosevelt was deeply felt by people all around the world. Cabinet room of the White House, Harry S. Truman was sworn in as president. On the very eve of victory and its disturbing aftermath, his was the heavy duty of carrying on with the leaders of America's allies.
On the final lap of their drive on Berlin, Russian troops under Marshals Zhukov and Rosakovsky send the Germans reeling. Cossacks are in action, too. In every city and town, the Nazis fight back with furious desperation. The foe must be wiped out building by building, street by street. Nazi rearguard action is fanatical as they try to stem the red tide. Watch this soldier. A sniper gets him. A machine gunner smokes out the sniper's nest. Another bag of Nazis is moved to the rear, and the townsfolk sees a chance denied them for years. The protection of red soldiers is all that saves the prisoners from a vengeful people. Left in the wake of the onrushing Reds is the ruined city of Warsaw, scene of an indescribable 5-year reign of terror. During occupation, even trolleys were for Germans only. The immortal Chopin's home was systematically destroyed in demented defeat. But at last, the exiled population, those still alive, are able to return to the shells of their former homes. For once more, the Polish flag flies over Warsaw.
Mussolini is dead, and a howling mob in Milan, where fascism was born, provides the sordid finale as it attempts to vent its rage on the body of Sawdust Caesar and his followers, executed a short time before by Italian partisans after a summary trial. Signal Corps cameras record the blind fury of a people whom he led to disaster after promising them an empire through 20 strutting and corrupt years. The final degradation. Mussolini and his mistress hang from the rafters of a gas station as Terracci, one of his hangmen, goes up. There are none to mourn. The sawdust has run out of Caesar.
President Truman officially announces the end of German resistance.
This is a solemn but glorious hour. I wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to see this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations. The flags of freedom fly all over Europe. For this victory, we join in offering our thanks to the Providence which has guided and sustained us through the dark days of adversity and into light.
Victory in Europe brought wild rejoicing throughout the Allied world as the Big Three announced the downfall of Nazi Germany. New York's celebration is typical of the nation's joy at the end of nearly 6 years of war in Europe. It's a great day as the thankful people let loose their pent-up emotions. There's a hard road ahead before we bring Japan to her knees, and it's up to us to get back on the job until complete victory is assured. The Red Schoolhouse at Reims, France, as peace is signed with German General Jodl acting for the remnants of the Nazi government. Jodl, for a few hours, was the chief of staff of the German army, while de Fuhrer's successor, Admiral Dönitz, was strangely missing. This is the news that electrified the world: unconditional surrender. In the temporary headquarters of General Eisenhower, our cameras record the scene as terms are laid down, with the Supreme Commander represented by General Walter B. Smith. With the Americans, all the Allies sat in to enforce the terms we set long ago. Surrender with no soft terms. It seems hard for the Nazi Jodl, and it was, to admit his country's guilt and plead for mercy. But General Smith's signature is a symbol of a new world of peace. A Bill of Rights for Europe. Nothing could be more symbolic of the downfall of the Third Reich than this abject surrender. Let us not forget Germany, but meanwhile, let us fight to quick victory over Japan. With the German group sent on their way for further ratification of their signatures, the Allied delegates visit General Eisenhower's private headquarters. It's a happy day for the victors. Victory with the pens of peace. Five happy warriors debark at Fort McPherson, Georgia, and check their points under the new Army discharge system. 85 are required for eligibility, and boy, have they got them. Sergeant Stroud of Clayton, Georgia, is first, along with 132 others. And after more than 5 years of service, he's more than glad to give back his GI duds to Uncle Sam. He drew a $1,400 check and has 200 more of his mustering out pay coming. Good luck, soldier. You've earned your country's gratitude. It's a great day for turf fans as the horse parks get set for another big season after a wartime blackout. The thoroughbreds go through their paces at the nation's tracks. All except this spirited fellow who appears to resent going back to work. But the fans are eager for all the thrills of a photo finish, and 30,000 turn out at Narragansett, Rhode Island to watch the first opening and get down a bet after the long dry spell. And with everybody tensed for the getaway, the field is off to a rousing start. Night Editor won the first, and now Daily Double addicts hold everything as the entries for the second race hit their stride on the backstretch. Cake Gravy begins to forge ahead as one of the riders tumbles. The pace gets hotter coming into the finish, just the kind of a finish the crowd has been looking forward to. The riderless horse is running third as the record turnout watches Cake Gravy hit the tape a winner. The noble sport of kings is back in its stride once more. Mrs. Truman arrives in Washington to observe Mother's Day with her son, the President of the United States. Every American shares the happiness of the President and his inspiration, his mother. Spirit of the mighty 7th War Loan, Iwo Jima and its historic Mount Suribachi flag look down on a Times Square crowd assembled for the opening of the bond drive. All eyes are focused on the 3 survivors of that immortal flag raising who are present to raise that same flag again over the statue commemorating their deed. They raised that flag on Iwo with their blood. Repay them with your bond purchases. "65 battle bombers come into Bradley Field, Connecticut from Europe with more than 1,000 veterans of the Continental Air War. Home at last with 30-day furloughs. It's a dream sealed with a kiss. After their furloughs, the men will be trained in new heavy bombers and then on to Japan. But now the only thoughts here are to sort their clothing and gear and head for home as soon as possible. These are the types of American youth who broke the back of the Luftwaffe. Scots will have a rest, too, before they go on to war in the East. Heroic dead of a combined Army and Marine force mark the grim battlefield of Okinawa, where one of the bloodiest engagements of the war is being fought. Thousands of Yanks have been wounded, and other thousands have sacrificed their lives to drive a fanatical foe from this vital base, the doorstep to Japan itself. A canine hero suffers a wound, spotting ambushed Japs, but collects a souvenir. Along the Jap southern defense line between Naha, Shuri, and Yonabaru, the Yanks advanced slowly, facing one of the fiercest artillery barrages of the war. In a few hours, the enemy poured 10,000 shells into a front of only 9,000 yards. Each small advance is gained by sheer grit in the face of withering fire from a suicidal enemy being slowly hammered back into the hill. The enemy defense line across the island is forced back and flanked at both ends by the dogged attack. Cautiously advancing on the firmly dug-in enemy, Yanks plant a heavy charge of dynamite. Dummy tanks are left behind by the enemy, retreating into the defenses of Naha, under attack by our big guns. The going is brutal and our casualties are high, but Okinawa stands squarely across the road to Tokyo and the China coast. It's the next big step toward victory over Japan, a victory that can only be won by work, war bonds, and heroic sacrifice. Sensation of this year's baseball season is one-armed Pete Gray of the St. Louis Browns. Despite his handicap, Pete asks and gives no favors, standing right up there with the best of them. He played 2 years for Memphis and came to the big leagues on his own merits. His arm was lost when he was 6, but that didn't kill his spirit, nor his dreams of making the big leagues. His batting average is good, though most of his hits are singles. Even when he grounds out, he gets the plaudits of the crowd. In left field, he really shines, and base runners are wary of the speed with which he discards his glove and throws to bases. His pluck and determination is an inspiration to all. They say there's nothing new under the sun, but Miami's balmy climate brings out the balmiest in headgear. This snappy little mousetrap model vies with the strainer type trimmed with the latest in fish scalers. A millinery scoop, and it's a bird. Ping-pong balls nestled cozily in a steel wool nest. Yes, girls, the newest bonnet fashions ought to be found in the nearest hardware emporium. But the big noise in the millinery world takes on a warlike air. However, Florida wouldn't be Florida without mermaids. And a group of wounded vets from the Army Hospital get an eyeful and a thrill as divers go into action on a greased pole. And no soap, but plenty of water. An umbrella wouldn't help this guy, but he sure could use a parachute. The show is enjoyed by all. That is, all except this gent, who thinks it's a complete flop.
Having covered itself with glory at the four corners of global war, the sturdy Jeep rolls off the Willys-Oberlin assembly line in civilian garb. This post-war model will figuratively turn the swords of war into plowshares of peace. While retaining the exact power plant of its military brother, it will be immensely more versatile. Gear ratios have been adapted for heavy hauling. A special power takeoff from the main shaft permits its use in scores of farm tasks. It can deliver up to 30 horsepower by gear or belt.
With this little workhorse, corn shelling is practically a pleasure. And speaking of horses, it looks as though Dobbin is going to spend most of his life in a pasture. The price on this mechanical jack-of-all-trades has not yet been determined. A veteran has come home to bring plenty to the post-war world of tomorrow. Sammy Bird of Detroit banks out a sizzling drive to lead the way for Byron Nelson of Toledo as the curtain rises on the PGA Finals at the Moraine Country Club in Dayton. Once a star baseballer, Bird proves to be an expert with the putter. Once again, Mr. Bird takes careful aim at the tiny cup, and this time it's NG. But still, Bird is 2 holes up on Nelson. No matter from what angle you look at these tricky short holes, a highly accurate drive is called for. And Mr. Here's one. Nelson shows his master's touch, and it's good. This is the shot that'll be heard around the golfing world. The ball rolls up so close that it could have been blown into the cup. Lord Byron takes extra care and sinks this one to win the match. With this win, Nelson now has won 9 tournaments in a row. The greatest golfer in the world today, Byron Nelson.
Swarms of B-29s and carrier task forces carry destruction to the Japanese homeland. These and the following scenes of the opening of the final assault on Japan were photographed by newsreel, Navy, and Signal Corps cameramen. The natural power of the universe is harnessed in the new atomic bomb. Its tremendous possibilities are explained in this chart. The mightiest, most destructive bombs yet produced, such as England's terrifying Grand Slam weighing 11 tons, are puny midgets compared with the new atomic wonder. Seeking for the best base material to carry the explosive atoms, hundreds of prospectors ranged the province of Alberta. Scientists made uncounted tests before deciding on uranium, which contained atoms easiest of all to crack. $2 billion went into research and plants, such as this one at Richland, Washington. One of the world's most closely guarded secrets, the atomic bomb process was developed in widely separated areas. Even the thousands of men and women working on the project had no idea of the staggering energy they were to release. Located at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, near TVA, one of our biggest sources of water power, is the largest of the 3 atomic bomb plants. Nearly 100,000 workers swarmed into Oak Ridge, which mushroomed into one of our largest war production communities, creating the 5th largest city in Tennessee. But the results justified the tremendous efforts. The great influx of atomic bomb producers called for thousands of prefabricated homes. Hundreds more families arrived, and failing to find other accommodations, set up housekeeping in Trailer Town. Merchants were quick to supply the demands of the sprawling war center. The Generalissimo Stalin, from Lenin's tomb in Moscow's Red Square, reviews his troops. The Russian decision to join in the effort to achieve quick victory over Japan was made before the release of the news concerning the atomic bomb by President Truman. Returning from the successful Big 3 meetings, the President reports on the startling developments that sealed Japan's fate.
We are now prepared to destroy more rapidly and completely every productive enterprise the Japanese have in any city. We shall destroy their docks, their factories, and their communications. Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war. It was to spare the Japanese people from utter destruction that the ultimatum of July the 26th was issued at Potsdam. Their leaders promptly rejected that ultimatum. If they do not now accept our terms, they may expect a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never been seen on this earth. Behind this air attack will follow sea and land forces in such numbers and power as they have not yet seen, and with the fighting skill of which they are already well aware.
With that mighty blast on the New Mexico desert, a new era in civilization has begun, and the doom of Japan is sealed. For this is the first test of the atomic bomb, which was later to wipe out the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and drive the Japs to surrender. These official U.S. Army pictures were taken from 6 miles away, and appalled scientists saw a column of smoke soar 40,000 feet into the stratosphere. The atomic age, for better or worse, is here.
The day of days for America and her allies. Crowds before the White House await the announcement from the President that the Japs have surrendered unconditionally.
I have received this afternoon a message from the Japanese government in reply to the message forwarded to that government by the Secretary of State on August 11th. I deem this reply a full acceptance of the Potsdam Declaration, which specifies the unconditional surrender of Japan. In the reply, there is no qualification.
Reporters rush out to relay the news to an anxious world and touch off celebrations throughout the country. Washington is jubilant, and in Chicago, more than 1 million sing and dance in the streets in the biggest celebration the Windy City has ever seen. Joy is unconfined. It was 4 o'clock Pacific time in San Francisco when the announcement came, and people were quick to leave their offices for an impromptu, spontaneous celebration. But it was in that city's Chinatown where Victory Day was the most joyous. Firecrackers that had been hoarded for years are set off in a triumphant roar. Seattle let loose all the pent-up emotions of 3 years and 8 months of war, and to the victors, the spoils. The pose may not be dignified, but the young lady is not the least upset. Peace, it's wonderful. The Navy photographer gives us a preview of Admiral Halsey's ambition to ride the Emperor's white horse through the streets of Tokyo. Their rallying cry is, "Go to it, Admiral," and so say we all of us. But the greatest, wildest celebration of all was in New York's Times Square, where 2 million people, by far the greatest in the city's history, filled the streets all day waiting for the official word. A hilarious, happy throng, they cheered every rumor that it was all over. And when President Truman's announcement came at 7 o'clock, the lid really blew off. Tens of thousands of proud American flags dotted the square, and as the day wore on, hilarity reached a high peak. Far into the night, the happy crowd screamed their relief at the end of the greatest war in history. From early Tuesday morning, the celebration went on for 24 hours. New York never celebrated like this before, but never did they have a better reason.
That sign means just what it says. It's the end of gas rationing. The gleeful cry of "fill her up" is echoing throughout the land, for America is rolling again without benefit of OPA. Imagine doing that a month ago. And there's another little item that gave you spots in front of your eyes. Yes, we're rolling again. Don't rub your eyes when you see what's coming up. Remember, this is what used to be known as service. Check your tires, mister. How's your oil and water? And step on it, you guys. The war's over and we've got places to go.
There's a capacity crowd on hand to cheer the seventh and final game of the richest series in history that sees Detroit off to a flying start as Hank Burrow, chosen to lick the Tigers, gives up a single to Webb, first man at bat. That's the beginning of a big Tiger inning. For the next man up, Mayo singles, a sharp blow that pushes Webb around to third. Doc Kramer, a vet of the big leagues, faces Burrow next, and he singles to left, right down the foul line. That brings in the first run as Webb scores, and Mayo goes to second on the blow. That's in for Burrow as Derringer takes over, the second of 6 pitchers the Cubs use. But the Tigers load the bases to prove that he can't tame the Bengals, though he gives Richards a bad moment. Derringer winds up for the pitch that really means the ball game, for this double by Richards brings in 3 more runs. Kramer is first over, and on his heels is Roy Columbine, followed by Jimmy Outlaw. The Tigers had no need to worry after these 5 runs scored in the first. Al Neuhauser never gave the Cubs a chance after that, and even the Chicago rooters in the crowd gave him his due as he faced Johnson, the last man at bat. The pitch was right in there, but Johnson hits to short and uses force at second to end the ball game and the series. Neuhauser is today's hero. He won 2 and lost 1 in the series, but every fan takes his hat off to all the Tigers. The Detroit American Leaguers are the new world champs in one of the hardest fought series on record.
In the devastated German city of Nuremberg, wrecked by tons of Allied bombs, the ruined courthouse stands as a gruesome monument to the lost hopes of the Nazis' bid for world conquest. Here, amid the rubble of Hitler's once proud fortress, Judge Robert H. Jackson, United States member of the court that will try captured Nazi war criminals, inspects the scene of the trial. Pounded by our sharpshooting bombardiers, the courtroom gets much-needed repairs by German prisoners of war. Between the courtroom and the neighboring jailhouse, a long covered passageway is constructed to shelter the Nazi big shots on their way to justice. Netting protects the Nazi bigwigs from self-destruction. Hermann Goering enjoys the luxury of a modest one-room apartment, as does von Ribbentrop and former U-boat head Karl Dönitz. Among the other guests awaiting trial is the one-time all-powerful Julius Streicher, who sent many innocent civilians to a brutal death. The sure, swift course of retribution faces them all.
Smashing a 74-year-old tradition, Meredith Stiles, former Air Corps second lieutenant, enrolls at Smith College, Northampton, Massachusetts. Completely surrounded by 2,000 gal students, the lone wolf fighter pilot takes his advanced Spanish seriously. The first male student in the history of the college, Meredith finds his colleagues accept him with complete nonchalance. He's studying Spanish, he says. Oh, yes, I think I'll take up Spanish myself.
Students begin a 4-year course in apparel design at the University of California, Los Angeles. Line, color, texture, and figure sketching are included, and the inaugural ceremonies end in the fashion show. The crowd gets a glimpse of something pretty snazzy in white. Just the thing for sunbathing in that famous California sunshine, and the flowers that bloom in the spring decorate these stylish creations. While here, beauty representing 2 seasons is on display. Slacks also join the tropical parade. Primitive prints bring on the wolf call, and when school is over, these are all the rage.
Another project that provided a shortcut to war problems turns to peacetime service. The electromechanical differential analyzer performs scientific and industrial marvels at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Perforated tape introduces the data to the 100-ton marvel, which solves problems economically beyond the ordinary methods of calculation. 2,000 electronic tubes, several thousand relays, 150 motors, and about 200 miles of wire are contained in this intricate apparatus. The analyzer worked for 3 years on important war projects, including range tables for our Navy's mighty guns, a mechanical marvel that aided victory. It looks like all the aluminum in the world, but even if it isn't, it's produced at the world's largest aluminum plant at Shipshaw, Canada. 1.5 million horsepower turns out aluminum for prefabricated houses, to replace the shattered homes of Britain and the continent, and to relieve housing shortages elsewhere. The sections are fastened to the assembly line houses, which are produced at an ever-increasing rate each month. Applying the aluminum weatherboarding is an easy job under this plan. Fittings, too, go on smoothly in this 24 by 30-foot model, which contains 2 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, and bath, all shipped in compact style. And once the little nest is well located, it's ready for Papa's return or the insistent knock of the Fuller brush man.
At the turn of the year, Delman, designer of shoe styles that warm a lady's heart, turns to and creates a series of foot fashions that are coolly calculated to instill envy in every female breast. And cool is definitely the term for this preview of 1946 footgear. Blizzards cannot daunt a gorgeous glamour gal wearing beauteous beach clogs or dim the glory of these scenes of fashion favorites designed for holiday happiness. A prophecy of the colorful smartness that will decorate tomorrow's Tootsies is revealed in these latticework sandals in rich brown kid, and in these flattering shiny black patents with multicolored beads. For balmy southern nights, dressy openwork satin sandals will lure a sweetheart into the open where moonglow will create a magic moment. If the gay round of pleasure palls and you'd prefer to relax at home, gold mesh with gold scrolls applique, or royal blue suede with gold kid rose centers will make any lady's evening. But a tingling on the telephone may announce a gala evening, and gay stained glass sequins spirit Madame away to the nearest conga line.
The league-leading Montreal Canadiens burn up the ice right from the opening whistle as they take on the tail-end New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden. It's a rough, tough game, but cleanly played by both sides as they throw their weight around. Not to be denied, the Montrealers bear down and net the first score. Just 1 of 3 they made in the first period of play. As they came on the ice, the Canadiens had won 10 and lost 1. New York had won only 4 and lost 11. But the Rangers put up a surprisingly tough defense in the second and third periods, a surprise to the 15,000 on hand. Pity the poor goalie at a moment like this. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And as time runs out in the last period, Montreal plants her fourth goal to run up a victory number 11. Well, he's been asking for it, and here he is, sitting in the midst of Beverly Hills, the one and only Jack Benny. Listen in.
Here's one from Fred Allen. He says, I can't stand Jack Benny because he can't stand me more than I can stand him. Allen can't be in it. He's the final judge. Hey, girls, look, isn't there one letter that says something nice about me?
No.
Oh, fine. Here's one from the... Wait a minute. What's going on here? Hey, here's one from Bob Hope. Says, I can't stand Jack Benny because he wears a bandage on his finger to make people think he can bleed. How do you like that? Hey, here's one. I can't stand Jack Benny because he tries to act as young as I am. Signed, Margaret O'Brien. Isn't that silly? I'm twice as old as she is.
Breathtaking artistry marks the opening of the Hollywood Ice Review, a spectacle that stars Sonia Henney, queen of the silver skates. With her partner, she displays the skill that lifted her to her throne. Her skill is unequaled, as she shows here. Flashing blades in poetic motion. Palsy Walsies are the duck and the rabbit. The duck is really Freddie Trinkler, ace clown among the skating funny men. Think a rabbit can outskate a duck? Whoops! Who said skating was duck soup?
Lucky Strike Green has gone to war. Yes, Lucky Strike Green has gone to war.
We're off to drive the height right off of the hiney. We're off to slap the Jap right off of the neck.
We'll knock him on his axis right from here to Alabama. Oh, the son of a gun who picks on Uncle Sam.
We don't care if it's Tripoli or Sumatra. We don't care if it's Tokyo or Siam.
We'll sock the sukiyaki out of any diagram. Oh, the son of a gun who picks on Uncle Sam.
Tell the Danes and Dutch and French and such, they are not forgotten men. Tell the cockeyed world our flag's unfurled. The planes are humming, the tanks are coming, the Yanks are in again.
We've got a wood kimono for the Mikado. We've got the mausoleum for Mussolini.
We'll pickle, sickle, Gruber for the coroner's exam. Oh, we're out to carve our monogram on the son of a gun who picks on Uncle Sam.
These have been some of the highlights of the year 1945. A terrible war has come to an end, but a terrible weapon has been unleashed upon the world. As gasoline rationing ends, Americans return to more normal pursuits. But though the shooting war is over in 1945, in 1946, a different kind of war will begin, a Cold War.
Our boys are still fighting. Are you still saving used fat? It's urgently needed to help make battlefront and homefront supplies.
Presenting in person and in the spotlight, Sammy Kaye.
Thank you, and hello, everybody. This is Sammy Kay. The men of Holabird Ordnance Motor Base asked the Victory Parade of Spotlight bands to send us out here. And we're going to use a song from our motion picture Iceland to tell you why we came.
You can't say no to a soldier.
Here's a bit of advice for all the girls from lovely Nancy Norman.
You can't say no to a soldier, a sailor, or a handsome marine. No, you can't say no if he wants to dance. If he's gonna fight, he's got a right to romance. So get out your lipstick and powder. Be beautiful and dutiful too. If he's not your type, then it's still okay. You can always kiss him in a sisterly way. Oh, you can't say no. No, you gotta give in if you want him to win for you.